tonight we're taking a closer look at a new technology that's making waves in the world of AI, chatgpt.
Chatgpt.
GPT, which has taken the world by storm.
What happens when something vastly smarter than the smartest person comes along in silicon form?
Because on the one hand, there's all of this potential.
You got to think about how what you do can complement rather than compete with these AI systems.
On the other hand, there's a huge number of unknowns that could turn out very badly for society.
It is going to eliminate a lot of current jobs, that's true. We can make much better ones.
Hi everybody, in last 1 year we have seen some drastic advancements in the field of artificial intelligence. And to give you an example, ChatGPT is now moving so fast that it is challenging the leadership of Google itself. While our schools and colleges are proudly teaching a century-old syllabus, we are seeing the rise of new AI tools that are challenging the most stable and formidable businesses across the world.
There is currently a lot of human interaction with AI. I don't know if I'm certain that there is a protective bubble around creativity that will protect us. I wish I thought that was true.
Some companies are developing technologies that allow any actor to speak in any language, revolutionizing the dubbing market.
You know, right now is kind of a scary moment because the stuff that it can kind of do are things that are kind of jobs that if a creative person is doing that and replaced, they have nowhere else to go, right?
And while most people think this is the first time this is happening, I got to tell you, this has happened over and over and over again.
Computers, robots, and artificial intelligence systems are replacing people.
They often were kind of middle-class jobs involving blue-collar production, clerical tasks. We used to have banks and banks of people who answered phones, who did typing and filing, who reproduced documents, who kept tables of books. Many of those things are now done by machines.
All kinds of routine jobs have become automated in the past few years, thanks to breakthroughs in technologies like robotics and radio frequency identification, computing, and high-speed networking.
And this is because AI is not an ordinary technology. It is categorized as general-purpose technology. And the brutal fact is that if you understand the importance of general-purpose technology, you'll be able to build a scalable form of business in this hyper-competitive market. But at the same time, if you ignore it, it's going to kick you out of this market regardless how big your business are or regardless of how talented you are as an individual. So understanding and using general purpose technology is literally going to make you or break you in 21st century. Which is why in this episode today, let's try and understand what the hell is general purpose technology, why it is such a big deal in context of AI, what case studies of the past can we learn from in order to predict the future, and most importantly, as a leader and as a student of business, how can we become a beneficiary of AI boom in India? By definition, general purpose technology refers to a type of technology innovation that has broad and profound impact on society. And more importantly, they are categorized by their ability to improve productivity, efficiency, and innovation. So now three most important terms over here are efficiency, productivity, and innovation. And every time a general purpose technology has come up, it has destroyed an industry and simultaneously it has created some game-changing opportunities. A classic example of the same is the rise of steam engine. Now, a steam engine was invented in early 18th century and eventually by the end of the century, it revolutionized multiple industries and transportation. Not just in Britain, but all around the world. So before the steam engine, textile production was mostly a cottage industry where the workers were using spinning wheels and hand loops in their homes. But after the invention of the steam engine, steam-powered spinning and moving machines started to be used in the industry. And these machines were so efficient that while a skilled spinner could produce roughly 100 meters of yarn per hour, a steam-powered machine could produce up to 10,000 meters of yarn in the same amount of time. So while it needed 100 workers to produce 10,000 yarns per hour, it took only 2 workers to manage the machine that spun 100 yarns per hour. So 2 workers with machine and low skill could practically produce the output of 100 workers without machine and very high skills. But while most people think that steam engine killed jobs, it actually led to a massive boom in both cotton trade and transportation industry in Britain. For example, before steam engine trains, you needed to have cotton mills right next to the port at say 10 kilometers range or 50 kilometers range, and then transportation would be done by horses or mules, which eventually increases the cost of transportation with each increasing kilometers. But after the steam engine and the progress of the railways, now you could have a cotton mill which is 200 kilometers away from the port, and then you could ship your cotton to the port at a very less cost and at a very high speed. In fact, Jamshedji Tata saw the progress of railway in the Europe, and because of it, even though Bombay was flooded with textile mills, he decided to set up his textile mill in Nagpur and took advantage of the railways to ship them. This is the reason why in 150 years, British cotton imports increased from around 13 million pounds to more than £1 billion per year. This is how British built one of the richest country in the world and eventually went on conquering the entire world. So you see what happened. So the overall impact of these steam engines was a shift in nature of job, where the worker had to transition from traditional manual labor to jobs with new skills and expertise. And the ones who couldn't adopt these changes, their company either went bankrupt and their worker went jobless. This is something that has happened over and over again. For example, Blockbuster couldn't adopt the internet while Netflix became $1 billion company by doing the exact same thing, while Indian kings couldn't adopt the naval fleet. The British and French conquered the world just because they knew how to use a general purpose technology called three-masted ship. And while Barnes and Nobles went bankrupt because they ignored the internet, Amazon became a $1 trillion company doing the exact thing, and that is selling books. This is the power of general purpose technology. And like I said, AI is a very, very big deal because it is a general purpose technology. And you know what? There's something absolutely fascinating that I found about the frequency of general purpose technology and their direct impact on the world's economy. So let's study some data to understand the impact of general purpose technology, and eventually you will be able to understand what sort of impact AI will have on the world economy itself. This is a chart that plots the timeline of the origin of a general purpose technology, and here you will see that in the 15th century we had only one general purpose technology. In 16th century also we had one general purpose technology, but in the 18th century there were 2 GPTs, in 19th century there were 4 GPTs, and in 20th century there were 7 GPTs. So we went from 1 GPT in 100 years to 1 GPT in 14.2 years. And now it's just been 20 years in 21st century, and we have already seen 2 GPTs, which are nanotechnology and artificial intelligence. Which means while the world was changing once in 100 years, now the world is changing every 10 years. And just to give you the impact of this on the world's economy, let's have a look at the second chart. This is a graph that showed the GDP of the world, and here you will see that in 1080 we were barely touching $210 billion in world GDP. So a 2x growth took us 500 years, correct? But if you look at the past 100 years, we went from 3.4 trillion in 1990 to 108.1 trillion dollars in 2015, which means in the last century we have achieved a 30x growth as compared to a 2x growth in 500 years in the last millennium. Now most people will be like, bro, it's not because of some technology or it is because of some GPTs. It's basically because our population is exploding. Because we went from being 300 million in 1080 to 1.6 billion in 1900 to 8 billion today, right? So it's not the tech. It's just that there are more people to work and contribute to the economy. Well, this is the reason why here's the third graph, which shows GDP per capita. And this directly points out the individual productivity of humans in the 21st century. Here you will see that the GDP per capita shot up from $1,526 to $12,235 in past 100 years itself. And if you overlap this graph with the other graph, you will clearly see how much of an impact GPT has on human civilization and the world economy itself. So now, just like steam engine, AI is going to kill a lot of jobs and is going to create a lot of jobs. And just like handloom weavers, today, regardless what you are, a software engineer, a thumbnail designer, an accountant, or even an artist, you will go jobless if you don't adopt AI. But at the same time, if you do what Jamshedji Tata did, that is embrace GPT for your business, then you will go on build an incredible company. So the question is, what is the framework to look at AI and how do you exactly become a beneficiary of AI? Well, people always remember that every time a GPT has come up, there are always three categories of business based on how they react to the rise of AI. And these are enablers, ignorers, and users. Enablers of a technology are individual or organization or factors that contribute to the development, adoption, and spread of a particular technology. Now, this may include researchers, inventors, universities, research institutions, investors, or even venture capitalists. The second category of entity are the users of GPT, and here's where there are individuals like you and me who use the general purpose technology in order to enhance our life. And lastly, you have the ignorers who are reluctant to use general purpose technology for their advancement. And if this is very clear to you, then let's have a look at the second diagram that categorizes the adopters based on the timing of their adoption. And here's where you have 5 different types of adopters of technology. The first type are innovators, and these are the people who take up the maximum risk and try product before they turn mainstream. Here's where we saw the rise of Mark Zuckerberg and the Steve Jobs of the computer. Then the next set of people are early adopters who have more practical and business-oriented approach towards using a technology. And here's where you have the earliest users of social media like Barack Obama, who launched the game-changing election campaign on Twitter to have an edge over his competitor. Now after this, you have the early majority, which is the bulk of people who jump into the adoption after tech becomes mainstream. This is again mostly people like you and me. Then you have the late majority, who are the conservative majority of the audience that use a product because it is becoming mainstream. A simple example of the same are our parents who buy smartphones not because they love it, but because their Nokia is no longer available. And lastly, you have late laggards like our grandparents, and they start using tech when it is almost about to go out there. So now the question is, what do we do with all these categories and complex chart of adopters and enablers and users? Well, that is because the fun fact is, the biggest opportunity lies being an enabler or a user of a technology, either as an innovator or as an early adopter. To give you an example in context of AI, in the early 2000s, when no one was even thinking about AI, a legendary company called UPS did something absolutely crazy. And what they did was, they started installing sensors, GPS devices, and telematic systems into their truck, and they started collecting data from all of these trucks. Now, as you all know, the logistic business is very thin margin business. So in early 2000, when you pour in millions of dollars into something called artificial intelligence, it almost looked like a gimmick. But you know what, guys? In next 10 years, something extraordinary happened when UPS made an announcement that UPS trucks will not take a left turn. Well, as it turned out, after a decade of analysis of data and machine learning, UPS found out that taking left turn was highly inefficient. So just like in India, you can take a free left turn during red signals, in the US, you can take a free right turns during signals. So because of the data that is collected, UPS realized waiting on the signals to take the shortest route was causing more delays than taking a longer route with the right turns. So when UPS truck delivered their product, they used to take 9 right turns and just 1 left turn on an average. And how they do it is because of a special navigation system which is called as on-road integrated optimization and navigation system. But you know what? After this grand announcement, people were still thinking that UPS is kidding. So in the next 1 year, UPS announced that they had reduced their distance by 7.5 million kilometers, saved more than 1.9 liters of fuel, and reduced more than 20,000 metric tons of carbon emission. This is what shocked the entire logistic industry in America. So now do you see what happened here? In spite of AI being very far away from the domain, in spite of there not being a pioneer in AI themselves, UPS became an early adopter of AI, for which they hired enablers like scientists and engineers to become a user of general purpose technology, and that too way before anybody else could think of. Whereas the people and the companies who laughed at UPS were now left far behind that. With each passing year, the UPS algorithm is getting smarter and smarter, whereas other companies are a decade behind the UPS. because it will take them another 10 years to do something as revolutionary as UPS did. So now in your context right now, AI is at the brink of becoming mainstream, whereby the innovators have already made tools like chatgpt, and now is the time of the early adopters who can use AI for their business to get competitive edge in the market. So the question is, how will you become a beneficiary of AI? Well, it is pretty simple. Either be an enabler or be a user from the user's standpoint. The first step would be to find a tool that can give you a multiplier effect to enhance your skills. I'll list down all the AI tools for all professions that I could find. So if you can go through the list, you will be able to find which software you need to be aware in order to have this multiplier effect. For example, if you're a website designer, the key for you would be to learn how to use AI tools like Dribble in order to create a multiplier effect for your skill set. This way, instead of competing with AI, you can use AI as a superpower to scale your business. Secondly, if you want to be an enabler like a software engineer, this is a very, very big market opportunity opening for all of you. With each passing day, and just like the engineer during that time who built great machines for textile companies, now you can build some extraordinary AI tools for every single profession. So if you want to be a builder of AI, study the process of chartered accountant and see how you can build AI tools in order to give multiplier effect to their skill sets. Similarly, study hospital processes and see how you can build AI tools for efficient hospital functioning. You know what? Just like the software industry became $1 billion industry, these micro AI tools can help you build a formidable company in this AI way. And lastly, always remember that every time a GPT has come up, they do not replace people, but they replace people who are reluctant to adopt and learn new things to capture the wave of new GPT, and they are unaware how to use it. So the key to success in this AI universe would be to learn as much as you can in order to get that multiplier effect. And once you have that multiplier effect, you can be rest assured that this AI wave will take you to the next destination, which will be far higher than the position in which we are sitting right now. Since we discussed about artificial intelligence in this episode, you also need to remember that we have a parallel field of computing, which is going to advance itself, that things will go beyond the capabilities of classic computers. And that concept is quantum computing. Everybody is talking about quantum compute. And if you really want to understand what quantum computers are and how they actually function and what they can really do, you need to check out my video on quantum computers, where I have explained a quantum computer's capability, which is developed by IBM. So if you have learned anything substantial and valuable from this video, don't forget to like this video and share this video with your loved and dear ones and with your colleagues, so that they are also aware that how a GPT will eventually disrupt the market right now. And if you have not subscribed to our channel, please do subscribe it. And for more such insightful business and political case studies and technology explanation, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you in the next video.